They don't believe in democracy. They believe in revolution under one man.
So that was Chris Goldsmith attacking the Revcoms, revolutionary communists, and the revolutionary leader Bob Avakian. Goldsmith says you shouldn't work with the organization Refuse Fascism because there are Revcoms involved, along with people from all different perspectives, by the way, which Goldsmith does not tell you. So a few things. First, these kinds of divide and conquer schemes do tremendous harm to the broad unity that's needed in the fight to defeat Trump MAGA fascism, a fight which has truly existential stakes for humanity and the planet. But second, Goldsmith paints a cartoon caricature of Bob Avakian and the Revcoms to scare you away from actually digging into this. And he's banking on your utter lack of curiosity and your ability to read and listen and think for yourself. So do not comply. In his Substack post, Goldsmith says they, the Revcoms, demand unity behind a single figure or ideology, dismissing nuance or internal debate as weakness or betrayal. Now the irony is, it's Goldsmith who's demanding blind thinking, because if you actually looked at reality, you'd see how ridiculous this is. This is Bob Avakian from 2003 talking about the educational system under socialism.
Imagine if the educational system actually told them the truth and helped them to understand about the world and history and nature and society. Imagine if it actually helped them to think critically, to challenge everything. Yes, the teachers, yes, the admin, and yes, even the party and its leaders.
Let's go back even further. This is Bob Avakian in 1980. This is from his book Basics, a book of quotations and essays. And here he says, our party calls on people and says the first thing you have to do is raise your head up and ask why. Ask why whenever they tell you to do anything. And for that matter, ask why whenever we say you should do anything. Because we're not afraid of people questioning us. We're not afraid of people digging into what we have to say. We're not afraid of people criticizing us and struggling with us because we stand on the basis of the revolutionary science that represents the interests of the masses of people. And he goes on later and he says, we're not afraid. In fact, we insist that people come forward and call us out and question us and struggle with us and criticize us. So how's that for blind, monolithic obedience? Okay, this is Bob Avakian from 2014 in a dialogue he did with Cornel West.
We have to go by evidence and testing things against reality. You have to think critically about everything and not take anything in any book or that anybody says without looking into it and thinking critically about it.
I could cite example after example because a core part of the new communism that Bob Avakian developed is the recognition of the need to foster dissent under socialism and the need for that now, for critical thinking and debate. Because the struggle to end oppression and exploitation is a conscious struggle of masses of people coming forward themselves to understand and change the world. And in that, Avakian argues for a rigorous scientific evidence-based approach. You know, evidence, not I heard it on the internet, gossip and lies. So how does Avakian view leadership in general and his own leadership? This is from last January.
You know, leadership is or should be a process that enables people, it goes back to the whole point about science too, it enables people to understand the world as it actually is, where the interests of the masses of humanity of which they are a part actually lie, actually are, and how to go about transforming things in accordance with those interests. That's the fundamental thing of leadership. It proceeds according to a certain scientific method. It understands, leadership, correct leadership, it involves an understanding of learning from people, but as we've been talking about, also struggling with people to get them to have a scientific understanding and approach so that it's not just a handful, but a growing number of people who are approaching the world and the question of changing the world in accordance with how the world actually is, the way it needs to be changed in order to be in line with the interests of the great masses of people in the world, and how to go about making that happen. That's what leadership, and in particular communist leadership, is. So that's the answer to that, in basic terms, to that question. As for why people should follow my leadership, it comes down to this is what I'm setting out to do and have been setting out to do for decades now, is what I just described. Enabling people to, more and more deeply and in a living way understand the reality that that they're part of. How this reality is setting the terms, not just for them, but for, much greater numbers of people and ultimately for humanity as a whole, where this all needs to go in order for human beings to be able to fully give expression to their humanity, if you want to put it that way, and how to go about making that a reality and enabling growing numbers of people to take up and apply the same scientific method and then in turn lead others to do the same.
So for a further answer, Avakian released a social media message last August that is aptly titled, "Irresponsible opportunist distortions should not be allowed to sabotage the unity of the millions needed to drive out the Trump fascist regime. And in the face of this regime's constant assaults on everyone who's standing up against it, it is that unity full of debate and learning and discussion with each other that's urgently needed now as we stand together in the streets to defeat this fascism with principle, honesty, and integrity."